Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to part 3 of me critiquing the Joe Rogan Experience with Caleb Hammer, episode 2509. And as much as I like you watching my videos, if you're ever curious, because I do chop it up, I can't do a reaction video to the whole 2 hours. It'll be 2 days with how wordy I get. So go watch it yourself. If you're curious, there's tons of stuff in there they got a lot of great talking points and a lot of great conversations, and there's a lot in there. So there's no way I'm going to touch on all of it. This is probably the last part of the last part 3. There will not be a part 4 unless like 1,000 people want that part 4, then I will do a part 4. But I don't think that's going to happen.
They say I don't talk about the issues that led us here in the first place, but it's a personal responsibility show because more people have agency than they're willing to acknowledge.
Right.
Like, we're in the highest disposable income society in the history of human existence. Not everything's perfect. Cost of housing's gone up. Cost of school's gone up. Cost of healthcare's gone up. We can acknowledge those realities, but people have agency. People have agency. The amount of going out to eat among the Generation Z is insane compared to any other generation. And not only that, but now for 25% of their going out to eat multiple times a week is getting food delivered. And that has a 90% markup. 90%. And then they're complaining that they can't afford to pretty much do anything, get a nice apartment or whatnot. But if we're spending like $1,000 a month, which is very normal for a person on my show, going out to eat, you're right, you can't get a apartment of your dreams when $1,000 a month is going to McDonald's and other places.
So yeah, I agree with Caleb to an extent of people do have agency. They do have accountability for themselves. They have an economy that doesn't really function as well as it used to. And there's a strong emphasis on convenience in America, where most of the things you pay for in excess are the convenience of. Subscriptions is a big one. What's really interesting is with cars specifically, especially some of the newer cars like Tesla and stuff like that, and some of the luxury ones, is the idea that you have to have a subscription in order to have the full car. So it's kind of crazy. Side note on that. So anyways, I agree, but I also want to say cooking can really help. Learning to cook, cooking your own food and making your own meals at home is not only going to give you higher quality food, you're going to be able to have that higher quality food at a less expense. You're going to feel better about yourself because you're going to have this accomplishment. Like, cook this meal. It's kind of cool, especially as you get good and then you can show it off to your friends and family and be like, look at me, or whatever. You'll save a ton of money. And the downside is that it will take more time and it'll take energy and effort, and you'll have to plan and you get used to it. And it's really hard to start, but once you get going and you're good at cooking, it opens a whole new world in the grocery store and in your home, whether that's a house or an apartment, so that you can, I don't know, just cook your own meals and you don't have to deal with DoorDash. And he's right. It is a 90% markup. There's a ton of markup on DoorDash. There's a ton of markup because it's a convenience that you're paying for. I'm not a big fan of Uber Eats, DoorDash, Uber, because of their whole, we don't have employees, we have contractors, and that way we don't have to pay them these certain rates and we can adjust it. And that's a whole nother video and a whole bunch of nonsense that these corporations get away with. But I agree that we have a level of agency. We got to do what we can. That doesn't mean that, hey, it's your fault that everything's, just look in the mirror, that's all that's wrong. It's just to say, here's an option. I found that cooking at home and grocery shopping help stymie the cost of living. It helps reduce the cost of living. You feel good and better and you eat better and all that fun stuff. So anyways, moving on. Next topic.
Cooking at home's become like a burden, become a victim complex now. Well, actually, that was another thing that triggered the internet. I kind of agreed with Kevin O'Leary when it said, oh, young people are broke because they spend $28 going out to eat. Well, it's not that specifically only, but it's the death of of 1,000 cuts. And yes, just $28 3 times a week becomes an actual halfway decent retirement fund if you put it in the S&P 500 for a few times a week. That does put off future goals that you have. And the internet went crazy against me. They hated me for suggesting that they shouldn't be able to. They're like, well, how do we eat? Groceries, meal prep, meal plan. This is what everyone's done since forever.
This Kevin O'Leary garbage, I don't know if he's hanging out with Kevin O'Leary. They keep bringing him up, but it's not your coffee. Yeah, you can drink as many coffees as possible per your paycheck. If you have $1,000, you could spend all $1,000 in coffee. It's not likely. Same with eating out. It's not a matter of a death of 1,000 cuts. It's a matter of decades of decreasing and stagnated wages and shrinking industries and job loss and offshoring of jobs. It's economics. I would say, I don't know, I don't agree with this death by 1,000 cuts. I think the reality is instead of addressing the larger problem, which is the tax code and how we've structured our economy and how much free reign we've given corporations within America to just do whatever they want and try to deregulate, because Americans have been sold that regulation is costing you money. And it does cost money. I'm not going to lie to you because I'm not a politician. It does cost money, but it saves you more money than it costs. It prevents fraud, waste, and abuse by regulating these corporations, holding them to these standards that are safe for human consumption and food, safe for human participation in certain things like, like a roller coaster or something, or cars, car manufacturing. Hey, it's got to be safe. People are going to be using this. It saves you more than it costs.
We live in the best period ever for humans. Best period ever. Our jobs are better. Everything's better. Even when you think of like buying the starter home in the 50s and whatever, they were like the size of this room that we're in right now, mass produced. Okay, that's still a home that's great you could buy, but you were going to a job that you hated, that you were sweating, that had no AC, where you're working with your hands all day, and it was miserable. They didn't like the jobs. They liked that they had a good paying job. But now people go to the office, and they think they're a victim for not being able to meal prep before going to the office.
All right, yeah, our jobs are better. Everything's better. This is a very common, and it's true, but it's not, it's true, but it's not accurate, I would say. Because what this argumentation wants you to do is to take your life and compare it to, say, the 1700s or the 1600s or the 1500s. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? I'm not alive during that time. Yes, relative to when we shit in buckets and throw it out the window, life is better. Why do I have to have a life that's better relative to garbage, relative to like daily suffering? This rhetoric, very commonly used, and it is factually true, I believe falls short because they want you to compare your life to, oh, whoa, hey, people were shitting in buckets 200 years ago. You want to go back to that? You should be grateful. You have indoor plumbing. What's wrong with you? It's just ridiculous. It's like, come on. Why do we have to drag the timeline so far back and be like, you should be grateful? So I want a life that I enjoy now, and I shouldn't have to be shamed or shunned into this, I don't know, rhetoric or thought process. Also, too, I can't find where he said it, but he was saying that we have the most disposable income ever. Yes, broadly speaking, America does. Not every American, because we all know there's a lot of Americans that have a lot, and there's quite a few Americans that do not have a lot at all. And so the distribution of the disposable income is not that, oh, every American has at least $10,000 every month of disposable income. That is not how it works. That's called distribution and is not being accounted for in this statement, where he is saying, which I didn't clip for you because I can't find it, and I'm done digging through this video. I've heard their voices too much. Anyways, it's ridiculous. It's a factual argument. I'm not going to lie and say, hey, yeah, it's not. I'm just saying is that take it with a grain of salt and look at what they're saying, because what they're framing it, and the logic is your life is better now than it would have been 200-300 years ago, or even 100 years ago. It's like, yeah, it is. Should I stop? Should we just stop? Should we just stop? Hey, everything's as good as it's going to get. We're better than we were 200 years ago. Let's just stop, everybody. There's no need to keep progressing. Does everyone break? We'll just not do stuff. It's a self-defeating argument if you really bring it to its end, but it's very commonly used and it is factually accurate. But I don't like it.
Amazing car. Those cars are fucking incredible. It's a technological tour de force. They're fast as shit. It's all-wheel drive. It's an SUV, a premium plus quattro, $27,000. It only has 37,000 miles on it. Those things don't have engines, like a combustion engine.
Yeah.
They don't have nearly the kind of maintenance that a regular car does. You don't have to change the oil. You just plug that bitch in. You have a fucking amazing car. Yeah, the battery range is not the longest.
That's the excuse they use.
226 miles is plenty for you to get to work and get home.
Thank you.
And go out to dinner. And you can plug that bitch in. I have a Tesla, and it has like It's a Model S. What does the Model S have? 340.
I can understand this though. This argument that this person might not have anywhere then to charge it unless
That's
it's
an
at
issue.
their
That's
work.
so easy to get in your house now.
Yeah,
But if you
have a
live in an
house,
yeah, if you're in
apartment, that's
it's
totally
not
fair.
easy at all.
Yeah, and if you go to one of those charging stations, you're very vulnerable. If I was a chick, I'd never get an electric
You would have
car
to do that
if
every
I didn't have a
single day.
house.
You have to do it every single day.
Every day.
Versus
Fair enough.
like gas
Every day.
station once
That's
every
true.
10 days or something.
And like, how long does it take
I
to
don't know.
charge up
Yeah.
one of those bitches?
30 to 45 minutes.
So you'd have to 30, 40 minutes every day. Yeah,
That's fair enough.
that's fair.
For the
But you're
apartment
getting
livers.
a fucking bitchin' car for 27 grand.
And more apartment complexes are installing those
Yeah.
charging stations anyway that you can just leave your car in overnight.
I live in one and you can never actually get to the thing.
Oh.
because
Why is it? 'Cause
people
someone's always
fucking
in
get
there?
to it and they never move their fucking car.
Oh, they
fair.
keep it plugged
And
in.
I don't know
these
whose it is. You can go
cunts.
call them and yeah.
Flatten their tires.
Jeez.
Don't do that. I'm just kidding.
But I try to think of
And
options,
they're
right?
broken too.
Because there's even the options of the place you work might have one. Right outside my building, there's where we film is multiple car charging places. Park in, you go to work. So I'm not saying everyone can do it, but
if you can
There's
do
options.
it, it's a great option.
They start up here, Rogan and Caleb, with their high horse soapbox of all the poor people and all the stupid Americans. They don't know what's good for them. They should just do it. And it's like, yeah, there's all these reasons outside of just the range and the temperature and stuff, and not to mention the money to do those kind of things. You can still buy a used gas car. Yeah, it's going to have like 200,000 miles on it or like 190,000 for around $4,000, you know, 3 to 5,000, depending on how lucky you get with the used car market and how much work you're willing to put into it instead of a couple 20,000. But anyways, I find it really funny that they start up right up here, and you know, good hats off to them that they're willing to come down and be, yeah, you're right. No, I can see that. And then especially with women having to charge a car like in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that, or just, you know, being more vulnerable than men in general. And I appreciate that they were able to dial in their rhetoric and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we don't know what we're talking about. Like in this one instance, maybe we don't know what we're talking about. And it's really funny too, and ironic, because Caleb's like, yo, those are so easy to get into your house, to the charging stations, to have those installed in your house. Yet you'll see later on that Americans don't want a house. They want apartments. That's what Americans want.
Option.
But even
And-
still, you can get used gas cars for relatively similar,
Right.
but they will defend to the death on my show having to get a $60,000 large SUV at an insane interest rate for an 8-year loan, 8-year term. Crazy. But no, you asked me why are they doing it? It's American, baby. That's American. That's freedom. You need a car to get to your job, and you need a job to get to your car. And our culture is built around the house and car. You're a failure if you don't get a house. You're a failure if you don't get a car.
Yeah,
It is American as it gets.
that is true. And it is true that people want a new one. They want a new one. That's part of the status of owning a vehicle. You want to be able to say it's 2026.
Yeah.
Look, it has these new features.
It's fun.
Apple CarPlay.
And people actually care what the person next to them thinks at the stoplight for some reason.
I agree. There's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. And I think that the bulk of the issue there is it is cultural, wanting to drive a new big vehicle. I do think Americans will start to shift away from that, but it's a long time because cars are very integrated into our history as a country. They teach it in school about how great Ford is and his assembly lines. It's cultural. I agree. If you can break yourself from keeping up with the Joneses and just do you and do what's right for you in your life, in your time in life right now, say, hey, you know what? I need a minivan. I have 4 kids. I need a minivan. I don't need an SUV. An SUV could fit 4 kids, but it's also going to take a lot more gas than a minivan. Or I need a sedan because I don't have kids. I'm just going to work, coming home. Maybe I go to the gym, go to hang out with some friends, go to this hobby that I do. I just need something that's a little transport car. That's fine. That's fine. And if anyone's telling you it's not fine, they're trying to sell you something, or they're trying to tear you down to build themselves up because they don't realize they already have all the pieces for themselves. They try to take from others. But yeah, I do agree that it is cultural. It is costing us a lot in our expenses by keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, oftentimes the poorest people I know are the ones that have more souped up, nicer cars. And then they have a shitty place to live. But they prioritize that because it's a wealth symbol. It looks good.
Yeah.
People have nice cars and then shitty places to live. I would say more to do with the fact that it is more accessible to get a nice car than a nice place to live. A nice car will cost you between $20,000 and $60,000. A nice place to live will cost you between $300,000 and $600,000. That might be the reason people have a nice car and a shitty place to live. Just saying, it could be. I could be wrong. He could just be completely right in everything he says.
I've told people to not get a house, and they're really close to getting a house. That's something they will not give up, because that's another obsession that we have in our country.
So would you say not get a house today because of interest rates?
Not just interest rates. The overall marketplace, S&P 500, it just beats real estate. Commercial real estate's good to get for tax advantages, but the American dream isn't owning a home anymore. It's the freedom of renting, because you can live wherever you want. You can move for a job like that. Getting a house, you're stuck in a house. It requires a massive amount of money for a down payment. And it's just a lack of flexibility in a generation and age where people want to be more flexible and travel and explore and take new jobs everywhere. But it also just doesn't make sense as an investment anymore.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. He goes on to talk about how houses are investments, blah, blah, blah. Let me just talk about how he's decided or gleaned from whatever crystal ball he has that Americans don't even want to own a home anymore. They don't even want a house. They want to be able to just move. Hey, work. Where do you need me to move? I got to go work in Mississippi. I'm so glad I don't own a house, because what a burden that would be. I can just pick up and move wherever my job wants me to go. I love that. That's perfect. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Do you honestly believe this? Caleb, do you honestly believe that? I got to say, it's a joke. It's got to be a joke. Joe's a comedian. He's supposed to be setting up jokes, right? This is ridiculous. I'm crashing out. I'll just say this. Americans want houses. They want homes. If work's like, hey, you should pick up and move, you could just go, no, I'm not going to, because I'm more than just a unit of labor to be expended in your spreadsheets. I have a life. I have family. I have roots in my society. I have friends here. I don't want to just pick up and go. That is the minority of Americans who want to be isolated and just be able to pick up and go and then pick up and go and never be a part of what's around them. That is not the American dream. The American dream is still, hey, I want to own what I have. I don't want to rent everything. I don't want to have a subscription service to my house. I don't want to have a subscription service to my car, I want to own it. You know, people don't want to be saddled down with the cost of a home, or just, you can't pick it up and move it. Because when your job tells you to just move, you should be able to just rip your shit apart and go move where your job wants you to go. This is ridiculous. Yes, it is more expensive. It does have a bigger down payment. One, as part of the nature of the beast of the market of the housing industry, but two, is exceptionally bad right now because of the excessive asset growth in investments towards real estate and the players in real estate, which there is a housing law or a housing bill that did get passed. And yes, I still have yet to read it. I know I referenced it in part 2 of this series, but I've been busy and there's no time to read it yet. But that will hopefully help drive down housing costs, because they're supposedly going to increase housing supply. We'll see, though, because there's a lot of activists, neighborhood activists, I want to call them, where they like their neighborhood the way they are, and they think new home construction is going to dilute their neighborhood, which is a pretty sad thing to think about if you stop and think about it. Anyways, it's just so ridiculous that he's claiming that the American dream is to not own a home and to just be able to rip your life up and go wherever it needs to be for work, whatever job. And that's the reality. That's the type of world they live in, is where you're a worker. You're just labor. And if we can get rid of labor costs, we will. But if we can't get rid of labor costs, maybe we can make them really uneducated and then convince them, propagandize them that they really just want to move around everywhere. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I completely disagree. I know I'm being kind of harsh in this part 3 against them, but maybe it's just because I've heard their voices for so long. I'm tired of them, but it is ridiculous. It is a lie, in my opinion. I own a home, this is my house. A lot of people say it's my mom's house, but it's mine. Trust me, believe me, I did buy this one. And if I got a job offer to go work in Florida or something, and they said, hey, sell your home and go live in an apartment, and then you can work here. No, I'm just going to go look for a different job. Hey, that one didn't work out. Idea that he brings up about like being able to travel and travel for work. One, depending on the type of work, you can travel for work. When I worked in the oil field, I flew out to the oil field, lived in North Dakota, and then flew back. And it was 3 weeks that I was straight work, and then flew back 3 weeks of time off, and then back and forth and back and forth. That was fine. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I mean, it's kind of taxing. It gets old quick, but it's a lot of money because it's the oil field. But the idea that you can't travel because you have a house is, I would say, wrong. I mean, you have, preferably, you would have friends and or family that you can be like, hey, I'm going to travel. Would you mind swinging by my house and check on the cat or whatever it is? You can still travel just because you have a house. Like, no, you're not allowed. Just, you actually can't travel. I'm sorry. Throw that plane ticket away. When you go to buy a ticket online, do you own a home? You click yes, it just logs you out. Like, oh, you can't buy this. You're a homeowner. You can't have one. So anyways, I keep saying home. I mean house. I know that a townhouse, an apartment, or a condo, those all can be homes. You can make into your home. I mean house when I say that. Thanks for listening and sticking around and watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and share it too if you think someone else might enjoy it.